Despite how many haters it has, uptalk as a speech pattern is only getting trendier. I used to tell the professionals I coach not to use this intonation because it actually undermines one's credibility in professional settings. Uptalk, put simply, is when a sentence is spoken with a rising tone, making statements sound like questions. There are a lot of interesting studies about uptalk, especially how it's perceived when used by women. In fact, what we hear online these days isn't just uptalk, it's hyper-uptalk, where every chunk, even every word, is spoken with a rising tone. In linguistics, some functions of rising tone include to signal uncertainty or seek confirmation. For example, in a yes-no question like, have you eaten? In most cases, people naturally use a rising tone. An exception is when the speaker is fairly certain, or, well, maybe it's a British thing? I'm joking. I love British culture. Another function is to signal incompletion or continuation. The rising intonation signals the listener, hey, I'm not done yet, helping keeping them engaged. If you hear, hey Charlie, it tells you the speaker hasn't finished yet and has something important to say to Charlie. This viral speech pattern may have originated in California. I love California, by the way, and has been widely adopted among influencers and young speakers. Given how trendy it is, and that the earliest discussions I've seen on how rising intonation affects perceptions of women's authority date back 50 years, as a language researcher, I can't help but wonder if there's a rebellious spirit behind the rise of uptalk and hyper-uptalk today. Yes, it may sound cute or intriguing, but there are downsides we should know, especially professional women. First off, it sounds unassertive. Let's not forget this function of rising tone, to signal uncertainty or seek confirmation. Imagine a professional woman using uptalk throughout a business presentation. It would sound like she's constantly signaling uncertainty and seeking confirmation. Would that come across as assertive? If I were in the audience, I'd question whether the speaker even believed in themselves or in what they were saying. And it's not just women. Uptalk makes everyone sound less certain. I once clicked on a video. The male host used uptalk. It just didn't sound like he had a strong point to make. I couldn't take it and shut it off right away. Secondly, it may create listener fatigue. Based on my experience, and that of many of my learners, hyper-uptalk can be mentally exhausting to listen to. As mentioned, one function of rising tone is to maintain listener engagement by signaling continuation, but when every sentence, or worse, every phrase, ends in a rising tone, it puts the listener's brain in a constant state of alert. Although direct studies on English are limited, research in auditory neuroscience in German shows that repetitive pitch rises trigger strong mismatch negativity responses in the brain, which is a pre-attentive reaction to unexpected auditory input. This suggests that rising intonation acts as an automatic alert signal, capturing attention even when the listener isn't consciously focused. The study says, after the initial alert, the brain may further process the stimulus at a conscious level. The alerting effect of rising pitch is robust and automatic. In my own experience, frequent rising tones seem to engage the brain's alert system repeatedly, making it hard to settle into deeper listening. This might explain why, when I hear a lot of uptalk, my brain gets tired quickly. Here's my bold guess, based on lived experience, which is that the listener's brain stays stuck in fast-thinking mode, constantly reacting to alerts, while having less bandwidth to activate slow-thinking processes which are needed to understand, reflect, and retain what you're saying. In the meantime, I hope to see studies that support this bold guess. Too much rising tone in statements creates brain fatigue and slows down comprehension. Yes, uptalk might work when influencers are trying to trigger emotional, impulsive responses, and that's valid in its own space, because these are not professional or academic settings. But wait, is an influencer a profession? Even so, for many listeners, uptalk doesn't create a good listening experience. It can feel jittery, uncertain, or tiring to follow. Ultimately, it's a personal choice, but if you're aiming to sound clear, confident, and grounded, especially in professional contexts, it's worth paying attention to your tone. If you find this interesting, please subscribe to support my writing and production. Thank you.